right, let's see here. Oh no, what? Sorry, trying to get this all figured out, you guys. All right, I think we're getting somewhere. I'm just waiting for one other one other person here. All right, thank you, Southern Girl. I appreciate it. I really appreciate you helping me out with this. As soon as this other channel gets here, we will get rolling. You guys might just have to listen to this twice, I guess. Um, I'm really not going to be once this gets going. I'm not going to be paying too much attention to chat. This is going to be. Thank you, Deb. This is good. This is not going to be an easy. It's not going to be an easy thing for me to do. By all means necessary. Let's see if I can get this lined up here more. So. Come on, where you at? Sorry, everybody. Just had to stare at my ugly mug for a second. Indeed, indeed. So, the title of the live stream might have caught your attention a little bit. There's my wife. All right. I feel a little bit better. um, Secrets revealed. Tonight, I'll just wait another minute. Tonight. It's going to change my life. Oh, correction. This live is a complete trigger warning. Um, yes, indeed, it is.
Well, hello.
Hello.
How are y'all doing this evening?
Good.
Are we doing good this evening?
Yep. We hopefully will be doing better after this is over.
For some reason, every time I get it set up, it come back and kick me right off it. Makes me mad. Okay, good. it has been a nice one time here. I think I need to
Yeah, I'll put it up when I get up on panel. Hang on.
two more sets of hands here.
Huh? Jump off there and jump on. Get to know. I'll be able to give. Okay. Sorry for the delay, you guys.
I can't understand it. So,
You think my internet's bad? It's probably we got. Am I just sitting there spinning and loaded?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Okay, well. Okay, well, let me see. Let me see if I can do it this way. How about this? I will just turn this off. Oh well. Anyway, let me know if that makes it any better. Might have to have. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you, Southern Girl, for letting me know. Okay.
you know,
So,
to remember that all of us that come on It's Matters channel, we all have been affected in some way or another, whether it be SA, TV, harassment, whatever it may be, we all have been affected somehow, some way or another. And that is what brought all of us here. So, our little community, our community that we're trying to change for the better. We're trying to bring more awareness, like the month of April is SA month. And if I'm not mistaken, October and November is DV month. It should be every month of the year, really.
That's too right, babe.
But we all connect with one another here. We understand when one of our subscribers or somebody that just popped in that heard what we were talking about and wanted to come and listen. Maybe this is the only time they get to express themselves on what they've been through, or give them some kind of a light at the end of the tunnel that it wasn't your fault that you were put through this. There is hope down the road. There is life after being a victim. And we all can tell our story. And each one of us is different from the other. But one thing you can rest assured is not a single one of y'all asked to be a victim. That was taken away from you. Whether you was a young child, a teenager, an adult, it was something that was ripped away from you that will always be embedded in you. There will be always something that is going to trigger you to remind you of what you went through. But by talking about it, and having good friends to listen and to let you know that it is okay to be mad, to raise Cain, to raise hell, to throw things, to just to all out have a tantrum, to, like a child when sitting there, child can't get his way and they're sitting there stomping their darn feet, screaming and hollering. It's okay to do that. I think I'm 60 years old and I still do it every now and then. But you're going to have people that don't understand what you're talking about. It's not that they don't care. It hasn't happened to them. So you have to bring them into your world, to what you went through. And that is what this young man is wanting to do this evening. And let me tell you, I haven't heard it all. I wanted to wait till tonight and hear it just with the rest of y'all. But this man lived it. But he is alive today to tell it and hope that it will bring closure to somebody, that it will make somebody want to speak out against their abuser, to talk about it, to help them out. Because it does stuff to people different ways. I mean, it brings another side of you that should not have to be brought out.
That's for sure. That is for sure.
But I want each and all to be respectful in this chat this evening. There will be no warnings whatsoever. If you come into the chat, our mods know what to do. And for some reason, I don't see. Let me just see here now. Something's going on. Hang on just a minute. Let me take that off there. Most that should not. No. Well, for some reason, I do not see your little tool. I don't see Debbie's. I don't know what the deal is. You're in, but I'm not seeing it on mine. Okay. Maybe it's because I'm also connected to Twitch. I might have to fix that here in just a minute because that scared me there for a second. But it is going to be a story that is not colorful, like I said. And there's going to be trigger warnings, and we're going to have breaks through this live because I think after this gentleman gets started, we're all going to have to sit back and regroup just for a minute.
I have to agree. It's more likely going to happen.
Okay, hang on, I'm backstage here. Okay, hang on, hold on just a second, Dippy. Let me see what you got going on, sweetheart. If that's you, I don't even know. Let me see what's going on here. Okay, sir. I guess I do know you're here.
All right.
Get back over here. Where'd he go?
Sorry, everybody. I appreciate you guys being patient. for sure.
Well, that is.
Each and every one of you guys are really important to me for being
Well,
here.
what'd I do with it?
It means the world to me. This is definitely not going to be.
Okay, well.
This is definitely not going to be something that
I
you're going to
know.
want your kids to watch.
I'm not, when it comes to computers now, y'all know I'm not the best in the world. Okay, let me see if I got you on here. Okay, I see you. Okay, come on now. Get it in there. Come in.
Babe,
Huh?
can I get a cigarette?
Okie dokie, sir. If you will grab that link again, I don't know why. I saw you sitting there.
Can somebody tell her I'm still there?
Okay. Grab the one in for you too. Mr. Aaron. See if I can get it back again.
Sorry, I guess I'm going to have to jump down and then jump back on, I guess. Hang on a second. Sorry, guys. Well, I guess I can talk about my channel while I'm doing this. I have a channel
Accounts.
that goes by the name of Get to Know _ Stop.
I should have took it off, but I didn't do that. So if you just grab the first one. And I think later on I will have that taken off.
My channel's not so much about like therapy and counseling for children and people who have been sexually assaulted or abused. It's more centered towards getting the laws and penalties for sex crimes changed to harsher sentences. I fully believe that if you make a sentence so harsh that
My phone,
it's like
they're
gonna do life in prison for the first offense, I'm sure the numbers will go down and the number of victims will go down. So that's the main focus of the channel.
Let me see here.
Um,
I can take that off of there.
as you guys have probably caught on by now,
Well, it won't go off there.
I am a survivor. Okay, here we go. I think nope.
All right, well, I'm clicking it and it won't let them come up. Okay. All righty, are you there, sir?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me? There we go. Okay. There we go. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Me and this darn computer here.
Yeah.
You might have to cut your phone down or something. I'm gonna try, because I hear some feedback. It might be from me over here.
Yeah, I don't have anything else on.
Okay.
How's that? Is
So
that better?
how are we doing this evening, sir? That's fine.
I'm good, as well as I can be, I guess, for what I'm about to do. I'm good. I'm good. I'm nervous. I'm scared. I got anxiety like a son of a bitch right now. I thought this was hard to do when I was 16, 17, when I told my parents that I was sexually abused, but for some reason this is pretty difficult for me right now, but I'll be all right. I'll get through it because I know in the end hopefully the message gets out there to enough people, and it helps some innocent child becoming a victim, or it helps the child that's being victimized right now come forward about their abuse so it stops. So
Yes, sir. Just take your time and start whenever you want to start.
all right, baby, you give me a
And
lighter.
I'm going to turn it over.
Okay. Okay, so for those of you that don't know me, my name's Aaron. I go by Just a Nobody, and I go by the name that I wish was way more popular, Get to Know, here on YouTube. I am a survivor of childhood sexual abuse. I started getting touched and molested the summer I turned 5. I say that because I don't remember. My birthday's in July, so I don't remember if our family reunion was before the 4th of July or after the 4th of July. All I know is the summer I turned 5, and it stopped the summer I turned 12. So whether it stopped right before I turned 12 or when I was 11, just in case anybody wants to question it.
Yes.
I was sexually abused by my dad's cousin and best friend, his best friend in the world, and nobody was none the wiser that it was going on. Come on, you gotta climb, bud. So nobody was none the wiser of it, and the first time it happened, I didn't know what the hell was going on or what it was about, and it was just kind of awkward, I guess. But what happened was we were coming home from we were leaving our family reunion, and my parents, I wanted to ride with my dad's best friend. Like, I'd ride to the store with him all the time. We'd go fishing all the time, my parents and us, and we'd go off walking off down the river and shit together. And so the trust factor was there, and I just wanted to ride with him. And
Yeah.
And so I get in the car with him. We're driving down the dirt road back from our family reunion, and he asked me if I wanted to drive. And what 4-year-old, 5-year-old little kid don't want to drive a car, for hell's sake? So of course I'm like, hey, yeah, you know what I mean? I'm like, yeah. So he's like, well, you got to get over here and sit on my lap, So that's the day that my life forever was changed by an innocent choice of mine because of being manipulated by somebody I trusted and my family trusted.
Yes, sir.
I didn't know what he was doing, but playing it back in my head now, I remember him right after he asked me if I wanted to drive, and before he told me to come sit on his lap, he started messing with his belt and his zipper. I didn't realize what he was doing. So when I came over and sat on his lap, he trigger warning. Yeah, this. I'm just gonna say it one time. Thanks, babe. I'm just gonna say it one time because this whole thing's gonna be a trigger warning for a lot of people. Okay, so just seriously. So when he sat me down, he had his penis out, and he sat me down on his lap, and his penis was in between my legs, and he proceeded to hump me as I was driving. And I remember when he was doing it, I remember looking at my sister, because my sister was kneeling up in the back seat of the car my parents were in, and looking at me driving as we were driving, and I thought I was just king badass, you know what I mean? I'm driving a car, I'm 5 years old. What the hell? What other 5-year-old kid gets to drive a car, So I don't know. I wish I would have been. I wish things would have been different for me at that point in time, because maybe it would have stopped right then. But I didn't pay it. I didn't really, I didn't really know what the hell was going on. But as we were driving, I remember that he was moving up and down below me, and a few minutes later, it was warm in between my legs, and all of a sudden, I was done driving. Um, when it was done, I remember him sliding my pants back up, and I remember the feeling in my underwear of stickiness, and it didn't feel good. So when I got home, of course, I went to the shower. I went and told my mom, told my mom I wanted to take a bath and whatever, and got cleaned up and whatever. And I don't know, I kind of was, I don't know, I just didn't really. Being violated at that age doesn't really cross your mind, I guess you could say, if you don't know what being violated is about. And unfortunately,
Right.
I'm a child of parents, and a lot of us are, especially my age, of parents that didn't talk to their children about sexual abuse and make them aware of the horrible things that are out there in this world. So, um, it happened again. I'm gonna reveal some things that I haven't even I've never even told my wife about yet, and there's a few different reasons why I'm doing this tonight. Most 90% of it's because I need to do it for myself. I need to quit carrying
Yeah.
around this guilt and this feeling of disgust for myself that I have still. I need to quit carrying it around with me so I can go on, so I can move forward in life. Uh, you see, my dad was an alcoholic when I was a kid. He was a really bad alcoholic when I was a kid. My mom was just barely 18 years old when she had me. So things were tough, and maybe if my dad wouldn't have been maybe if my dad wouldn't have been an alcoholic back then, and maybe if my mom would have been older, things would have been different. But I don't ever look at it like that. These things these things happen to me for a reason. I don't know what those reasons are. I probably never will, and I'm okay with that. But um, it was the second time it happened was a couple months later, and we were just at a barbecue at mom and dad's house at our house, and he came over, and when he got there, I kind of shied away from him. I mean, I didn't really, I don't know, the concept of what happened really didn't hit, but I knew, I just felt like something wasn't right about something. And
Yes, sir.
so he gets to, so he shows up and whatever, and him and my mom and dad, they go and do their chit chat, whatever the shit by the barbecue for a little bit, and my dad needed something from the grocery store, and he told my dad that he'd go to the grocery store for him. So before he left, he asked me if I wanted to go with him, and I knew that if I went with him, I knew that he would always before he even started abusing me, and now that I look at it and it just dawned on me, like, he was grooming me the whole time, and I just barely fucking realized that just now. So now I feel even. Anyway, I knew that every time I go to the store with him, I would get a candy or a soda or some kind of treat. You know what I mean? So, of course, I wanted to go, and of course, I went. And well, we went to the store, and we we got what my dad needed, and he got me a treat. And on the way home, he pulled over in an alley, and That was the first time that I ever gave a man a blowjob in my life. I didn't know what it was, of course, at the time, but I can still hear the sound of his zipper unzipping. I can still smell the smell of his ball sack. I can still remember exactly how it felt when he ejaculated in my mouth. When it was all said and done, he didn't say anything to me. And when we got back to my mom and dad's house before we got out of the car, he goes, "This is our secret." I was like, I didn't really know what to think, and I remember going upstairs and just laying down on my bed and just crying. Just crying. And I went outside and my dad was asking, he was like, what the fuck took you so long? Like, it should have took you 10 minutes to be there. You've been gone for 20 minutes or more, you know? I don't remember exactly the words that were said, but this piece of shit, he told my dad that for some reason his car, he had to get a jump start, his battery died or some shit, and I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, what the fuck, you know, what's he talking about? The car didn't die. We didn't have anybody help us give us a jump. And that's when things started to click for me a little bit, that what had just happened probably wasn't okay. So about 2 hours later, about a little while later, when the barbecue and shit was done, he's leaving and he gives me a hug, and he whispered in my ear, he's like, "You better never tell anybody about our secret." And I was like, "Oh shit," you know what I mean? Like, okay, now I know what happened. Now I know what happened was wrong, and
Right.
maybe if I just stay quiet about it, maybe it'll just stop. Boy, was I so fucking wrong. Was I so wrong? So summer ends and school starts, and my parents were by no means anywhere close to being well off or rich yet. We lived off housing, off food stamps. My dad was disabled, an alcoholic. My mom liked smoking her pot, and you know, whatever. And school started, and I remember the first day of school, because that's the next time he abused me. He showed up. I didn't even know he was at the house. He showed up in the middle of the night, needed a place to sleep or some shit. I'm not sure exactly what went down, but I remember waking up and I was so excited. I was so excited. First day of first grade, you know. I mean, I was stoked. I was stoked, and I remember getting all dressed and whatever, and I had a bedroom upstairs, so I went downstairs to go into the kitchen to get something to eat before school. And I came down the stairs, and we had this sofa sitting right next to the stairs that you had to kind of walk around to go into the kitchen. It was this brown old ugly ass couch. You know, huh? Like going on 6 years old, getting ready to go like first grade. So I seen somebody laying on the sofa. I seen somebody laying on the sofa, and I didn't know who it was, so it kind of startled me. I mean, I remember going to bed, there wasn't anybody on the sofa, and now there is. So I go into the kitchen, and I get me a bowl of King Vitamins cereal, and And my parents and my sister both had bedrooms upstairs as well. All three of the bedrooms in the house were upstairs, and we had a bathroom, a kitchen, and a big ass front room downstairs. And I get my cereal and I go to sit down and start eating it, and I hear him say, "Hey, Aaron, come here, buddy." And as soon as I heard his voice, I died. I died. I told him no. I needed to eat. I needed to finish my cereal so I can go to school, and it'll only take a minute. So, I did as my elder said, and I came up to him, and he proceeded to make me gag on his dick again. The thing that I want to get across to a lot of people about sexual abuse is it don't take that long at all for them to accomplish what they want. It could be a matter of minutes, it could be a matter of 10 minutes, 15, you know what I mean? But every time it happened, it was only, from what I play back in my head anyway, just a matter of a few minutes. I remember when he was done.
But now it happened over.
What's that?
I would say it happened over several years.
Yes.
Up until you was what? 16?
And nope, until the summer I turned 12. It's the abuse stopped. The abuse stopped as soon as I started growing pubic hair. I was no longer turn on material for him. So he's a prepubescent pedophile.
Okay.
So I remember going upstairs and brushing my teeth, and my mind was all freaked out, and my mom, because there was a little half bathroom upstairs, sink in the toilet, and my mom came in. She's like, "How you doing today? Good morning, whatever and whatnot." And she asked me if everything was okay. I told her, yeah, because before I went upstairs when he was done, he told me, he's like, "You better keep this a secret." So of course I did. And from there it was a little while longer. It probably wasn't until the next summer that he did anything to me. I don't know. I think he might have went to jail for 8-10 months or something like that for something. And now that I think about it, it's probably when he caught that charge and he actually became a registered sex offender, babe.
Yeah.
That's probably when it was. So, anyway, my birthday rolls around. It's in July, and my mom and dad got me this. Remember that old cop show, Chips? I think called Chips, I believe is what it's called.
Yes, Chip.
Yep. I love that show as a kid for some odd reason or whatever. And my parents got me a Chips Big Wheel for my birthday, and I remember getting it put together, and I was so excited and whatnot, and went outside to ride it. And my cousin was like pushing me on it, and he popped a wheelie on it, and I had no shirt on, so I fell all the way back, and I scraped my back on the sidewalk for a good 10 or 15 feet. So like right down the middle of my back where the vertebrae are, all the meat and skin was like tore off of it. So I jumped up, I went running in the house and whatnot, and this story will become, why I'm telling this, become relevant, because I don't know. Anyway, so I went screaming in the house and whatnot. My parents took care of it, and they put bandages all up and down my back. Barbecue. My parents always had these little, and they put like flour and sugar sucked into the bucket, and like they had to pull it off me. I remember running, whatever, no matter what the temperature was, it was always cold. And I hear a voice downstairs, and he goes, and I heard, "What happened?" And it was him. And my dad told him what happened, and He's like, well, I'm gonna go up and talk to him and laugh. I'm not gonna do it because all you guys would really laugh. Because I'm looking, remind me of like Donald Duck or whatever, and whatever. He says hi to her and shit and whatever, and he comes up and he sits down next to me, and he proceeded to undo his zipper. That was when, of course, he said, you know, this is our secret, and he's like, you better not tell anybody. The more it happened, the harsher he would, the more threats that came with keeping the secret.
Right.
Over the next couple of years, up until I was about 10 years old, so I had about another year and a half, 2 years to go of abuse, and by this time I had started creating imaginary friends in my head, and when he'd come to abuse me, I would go out. And I would put one of my imaginary friends in my place so I didn't have to live through the abuse. So 10 years old is when he first anally penetrated me. I don't remember exact date or whatever, but it was raining outside. He had to go to the doctor. He had to go to the hospital. So this piece of shit was at the house, and of course, you know, my parents was like, "Hey, can you keep an eye on these guys while we take Donna up to the emergency room? Babe, can I get the ladder, please, again? While we take my mom up to the hospital." And of course, he said yes. I have an older sister, and I was thinking maybe I was going to be okay because my sister was there. Come to find out later on, years and years down the road, later on, he wasn't abusing my sister because he wasn't turned on by girls. He was just turned on by boys. And how he got his time to do what he did to me is he locked my sister in her upstairs bedroom and proceeded to introduce me to anal sex. I remember like it happened yesterday. The pain was so excruciating. I can't even begin to explain it, I guess. Things were really fucked up. About 5 months before that happened, successful attempt at suicide. I guess it's a good thing I didn't really know how to tie knots when I was 9.5 years old, because I wouldn't be sitting here today. That's for sure. What 9-year-old wants, thinks death is a better option than anything else at 9 years old, She was pretty fucked up for me for what.
That's true. Are you okay? Do you need to take a break?
No, I'm all right. So, I'm going to fast forward back to where I was just at. I remember him coming upstairs, and I was trying to be quiet, make him think I was asleep or whatever, and he crawled up right up next to me in bed, and down came my pants, and down came his pants, and the next thing I knew, he had his hand over my mouth and a fucking gun in my face to my ear as he sat there and fucking raped me. That's you know what I mean? Like, I'm already getting violated. That's pretty harsh. And then this motherfucker sticks a gun in my face and tells me, you tell anybody and I'll blow your fucking head off. So I wish I would have known better. I wish I would have known better.
Well, at the age of 10 years old, I mean, you don't think of a 10-year-old as knowing what sex is and what is SA and DV, you know.
Right.
That's just not something we think about, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, so it started happening. I think what happened is he knew that I was going to be hitting puberty soon, so he had to get in as many turns as he could, you know. And it started happening pretty regularly then. I remember one time. It was Thanksgiving, and during Thanksgiving during Thanksgiving, Christmas, all the holidays, they were always huge at that time for my family. It was no thing to have 45, 50 people at the house, and it was like that for all birthdays, holidays, and, you know. And this is why to this day, I'll always lock the bathroom door. So he of course was there. This happened a little bit. This happened a couple years before this. I'm sorry. Once I start getting worked up, I get scatterbrained a little bit. I think I was like 8, and my mom and dad. It seemed, I don't know why, but I know they didn't do it intentionally, but it just seemed like every time I'd go to the bathroom when I was younger, one of my parents would walk in after me, and they, Aaron, goddamn it, I told you to lock that bathroom door. Aaron, goddamn it, I told you to lock that bathroom door. So Thanksgiving's there, and there's all these people at the house, and of course he's there, and I went off into the bathroom, and I closed the door, I got up to the toilet, and I heard the handle turn on the fucking doorknob, and I seen the bathroom door coming open, and I thought I was going to hear, Aaron, goddammit, I told you to lock the bathroom door. And I wish that's what would have been said, but nothing was said, and that's when I knew who it was, and I knew what was about to happen. So he stuck his penis in between my legs, and he didn't penetrate me this time. He ejaculated, and matter of 3-4 minutes, he was done with what he needed to do. I remember him leaving, and he looked at me, and he just looked at me, and he kind of goes, pew, you know. So I remember pulling my pants back up, and of course, you know, he had ejaculated in between my legs and whatnot, and I heard my mom come in, so I ran out the bathroom door, and I went upstairs, and I didn't know what to do with the clothes because I didn't want to keep wearing them because I felt disgusting. So I took them off, and I did this a secret and shit, and so I take them and I hide them under my bed. I hid the underwear under my bed. I just knew there was no way there's so many people at the house. So that started a bad habit for me. Clear up until about 10 years ago. My wife's like, I told her the story about it. And what would happen is for me to make sure our secret was safe, whenever he would just I'm just going to call it dry hunt me. Whenever he would dry hunt me and ejaculate in between my legs or in my, you know what I mean? I would take my soiled underwear and I'd hide them under my bed. That way I could come back and clean them and get them in the dirty clothes so my mom or dad didn't find them and discover our secret. And my wife and I were getting ready to move out of this house we were in into a new house, and we picked up the bed, and I felt I didn't even realize what I was doing, but I'd done it my whole life. And my wife's like, "Babe, the fuck is all this shit under the bed?" And I just got in the habit of just, you know, stuffing stuff under the bed. And a little while later, I told her about what happened. I said, "I don't know, you know, fuck, man, that's what I used to do with my soiled underwear and shit. And, you know, I just stick it under the bed and come back to it later when I knew I could take care of it." And she's like, "I wonder if that's why you do it, you know." But I still got a little bit of a habit of stuffing stuff under the bed. I'm a lot better now. It only take 20 minutes to clean out from my side of the bed now instead of 2 hours. But anyway, I tried to commit suicide shortly after that. Happened on Thanksgiving. Again. I would have 2 more failed suicide attempts by the time I was 16. The summer I turned 11 rolled around, and this one's a major trigger warning. So, my parents went to Jackpot for the evening. That's in Nevada. You can't gamble in the state I live in, so they would drive to Jackpot. I believe it was in July for their anniversary. And of course, who was there to watch my sister and I overnight while my parents went to Jackpot and whatever. And he had a friend come over. And I don't know, I just had a real uneasy feeling about it. I just felt like something was off, something wasn't right, more so than with just being there. And I remember my sister and I went to bed, and the next thing I know, I remember laying down and going to sleep, and the next thing I know is I felt my bed move, and it was my dad's best friend that had been molesting me and raping me for a few years already. And it was this friend of his, and what happened next? Let's just say you guys can use your imagination. I know what it's like to have a threesome with 2 men, because while one was penetrating me anally, the other one was making me gag on his cock. You know what I mean? That happened 3 times, 3 separate times. When the first time it happened, I think they started catching on to the fact that, you know, he's getting quite a bit older, so we really better make it a point to make sure that he keeps our secret. So when they got done and I was curled up in the corner of my bed, just shaking and not knowing, just wishing I was fucking dead. Just wishing I was dead. He looked at me, and his friend stuck a gun in my face and goes, "Tell anybody about this happening." and we'll fuck you just as hard next time in front of your parents and kill your parents in front of you while we continue doing what we do to you. Then your sister, and then you. So of course I kept my mouth shut. So it happened a couple more times with them. Another dozen times with just him. Then one day, he showed up. I believe it was on Easter. My sister's birthday is on the 7th of April, so like every 7 years or every 8 years, her birthday lands on Easter. And we just moved into this new house. And he basically comes up and grabs me by the arm. He's like, I knew what was going on. So we get downstairs and he unzips his pants and pulls his pecker out, and he reaches his hands down my pants and grabs my package, and his eyeballs got like this big around, and instantly pulled his hand out of my pants, took a step back, looked at me like you fucking disgust, like I was just disgusting fucking. This disgusting, worthless fucking nothing, And, he's like, you better keep our secret. That I realized the reason why. It's because he instantly went soft. He was no longer sexually turned on by me because I had started growing pubic hair. So, during this time of being abused, I was also being bullied at school, like not just by 7, 8 kids easily every day. So I'd get on the bus, I'd wake up in the morning, and I'd fucking dread I'd sit there at school and I'd dread having to go home because I knew there was a chance that he was going to be there after school. So not only was at this time of my life, not only was I juggling being bullied all the time and being sexually abused, and my dad being an alcoholic, and things can get hectic. He never put his hands on my mom, but things got crazy. And I did have some uncles that I thought were supposed to protect you, you know what I mean? That's what uncles are supposed to do. And they were just as big as bullies as the bullies at school, So not only am I getting bullied at school and bullied by my uncles and an alcoholic dad, and I'm being raped and molested. Now I'm 11 and a half, 12 years old, and now this man that did this shit to me for so many years wants absolutely nothing to do with me. You want to talk about a feeling of loneliness? You want to talk about a feeling of the whole fucking world hating you? You want to talk about being alone? Now I'm an 11 and a half year old boy, just hitting puberty. My dad's an alcoholic. This guy that was doing this shit to me doesn't want anything to do with me. I didn't have no friends really at all. So, truly alone. Truly fucking alone in the world. That's when my
And you're trying to figure out what's into.
Yeah. All different kinds of thoughts went through my head. Like, why am I not good enough for him anymore? I caught myself a few times when he'd come over after that. I caught myself a few times, like telling him, hey, come on, let's, come pay attention to me, and nothing. Get out of here. Get away from me. You know what I mean? And
that's like they said in the past, it's a control method.
Yeah. It is. So that's when I would attempt to hang myself for the third time. I'm glad that I'm glad that the knots that was trying to learn how to tie in Scouts never took, because I wouldn't be here. So there I am, this kid feeling abandoned by the whole entire world and everybody in it. Not only that, I'm also battling with the trauma of being raped and molested, carrying this huge secret on my shoulders, and nobody to tell if I wanted to, you know. I knew I couldn't tell my parents. So the feelings of homosexuality started coming in. You know, am I attracted to men? Am I attracted to boys? Am I attracted to girls? Am I attracted to anything? Just 100% loneliness, man. Now, a couple of years before that happened, two of my uncles. I love fishing. To this day, I love to fish. It's my favorite thing to do besides spend time with my kids and my wife. The summer I turned 10, it was Memorial Day weekend here in Idaho. That's when the fishing season opens. You can fish just about anywhere. And we always have a big family get together on one river or another. And all like previous years before this, fishing opens up at midnight, right? On Memorial Day weekend.
Right.
On that Saturday. So I never made it to the opening time. So I was always end up falling asleep and whatever. And my dad was always drunk. My dad was always drunk on opening day. And so I never really got to fish until in the morning after I woke up and shit, you know. And by the time I wake up, like my uncles would always have these 10, 12, 14 pound German Browns, 14-pound cutthroats, just these beautiful, huge fucking fish that they caught at night. I'd sit there all day long, you know, in the hot sun and shit, and not catch anything. And I'm like, you know, I want to catch fish like this, man. So the summer I turned 10, or the Memorial Day I turned 10 of that year, my dad was drunk. He's already passed out by about 9 o'clock at night. And I catch these big ass fish with you guys. So, two uncles whom I should have been able to look up to and trust, they thought it would be a good idea to take me into the bathroom and introduce me to how they stayed up all night long and caught fish. Well, my one uncle put a pipe in my mouth, and the other one lit the fucking lighter and said, "Suck." I didn't know that it was methamphetamine. All I know is I fished all night long. And that's what started my addiction into drugs. And then I started realizing, fuck, all I got to do is do this, and all my pain, all my troubles, all my cares, all my worries go away. I didn't have access. Don't get me wrong. I didn't have access to methamphetamine quite often up until I was 16 years old, and I might have gotten high like 2 or 3 times from the time I was 12 until I was like 15 or 16. So I kind of finally learned how to just carry the weight of the abuse on my shoulders, and started standing up for myself with the bullies. And I learned how to do that because I had some friends that were in a gang, and they took me in, and I legitimately started gangbanging, as they would say. People didn't fuck with me much after that. Sorry, I don't even.
It's okay.
So, the weight of this guilt and this disgust that I carried for myself really started getting to me, and I didn't know what to do. So I started really using drugs real bad. Weed, methamphetamine, acid, mushrooms, eating bottles of No-Dos, drinking real bad. And then I would have my fourth and final suicide attempt. Because I tried working up the courage. To confront him and ask him about it, about the abuse and shit, and I couldn't do it. And I just had a girlfriend break up with me. So I was feeling extra down. So I just took this leather belt and put it around my neck and just like stuck it up in the door frame, stepped off the chair, and I remember going out. I thought it was going to work, actually, and next thing I know, I wake up, I'm laying in the middle of the floor, and the belt had broke from where I had the nail through it in the door frame, and I had this big old bruise all the way around the front of my neck for quite some time, and my parents seen it, and they're like, "What the fuck is this? What the fuck is this?" You know, and that's the day that I feel like I almost destroyed my parents' lives. So I told them about the abuse, and the looks on my mom and dad's faces was far worse than I would have ever even imagined. My mom instantly started bawling. My dad got up and grabbed the shotgun, and he was going to go kill this motherfucker. Legitimately go kill him. And I remember telling my dad, I was like, "You can't do that, man. Like, if anybody has a right to do that, I get the right to do that, you know? And if you go do that, not only did this motherfucker take my innocence, my childhood, and almost took my life multiple times, he's going to successfully take my dad from me." At this point in time, my dad had quit drinking. He had been sober from drinking for a good year and a half, 2 years, and people might say, "Oh, well, that's not that much," but we're talking about a man who was drunk 6 out of 7 days of the week for 15 years, you know. My parents to this day carry around this guilt for what happened to me, and that devastates me. It really hurts. It really hurts me. If I would have known it was going to cause my parents that much pain, I would have never told them. I honestly would have never told them. I would have made up some stupid ass lie about why I tried hanging myself, and I would have figured out something else. If I would have known that 29 years down the road or so, I don't remember. I'm not doing the math in my head. That it was still going to have this effect on them so hard, I would have never told them. Never told them. So they asked me if I wanted to get into counseling, and, you know, and of course they called the detective. We called the detectives, and since I had no like forensic evidence, you know, like his semen in my underwear or written down in a journal, or, you know, evidence that he did this to me. Plus we'd missed the statute of limitations by like a year and a half. I didn't know. I told him, of course, I told him no, I didn't want counseling. I told him I was all right and whatever. I was like, I told him me trying to kill myself really opened my eyes. I was like, it really helped me realize that I'm not the one that did anything wrong. And, basically I lied to him and told him I was over it. So a couple of my cousins come over a couple days later, and some of my cousins are Mexicans, and they ran around with the Sureños, Su 13, a Mexican gang. Back in the 90s, it was one of the most ruthless gangs in the United States, and they seen the bruise on my neck, and they asked me, "What the fuck's that shit?" And I told them about it, and I was like, they're like, "Why the fuck would you want to do that?" And I told them what had happened with the abuse and shit, and they were like, "Let's go get this motherfucker," So me and a couple of my cousins and a couple of my homeboys, we got in the car, and I grabbed my 12 gauge shotgun that I gotten 2 years before that for Christmas for my dad, and it's a double barrel over under, 2 shots. I remember grabbing 2 shells. I grabbed one buckshot, one triple aught buckshot, and one slug. And we drove 15 miles away from my house to his house. And it was about 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. And on the way up there, they're like, "Yeah, I was like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna fucking kill this motherfucker, dude. I'm gonna kill this motherfucker." And get to his house and like fucking creep through his yard and into his bushes. And I'd seen him in his kitchen, and he was making macaroni and cheese. And I pulled that shotgun up on the edge of that window, and I cocked both them fucking hammers back, and I sat there with that fucking shotgun. He sat down. He started eating his macaroni and cheese, and he had his back turned towards me. And I remember I was like, "All right," you know what I mean? I was getting, and I started to squeeze that trigger, and I heard this voice behind me. I'll just say it was Aaron, no. And I turned around, I startled, it scared the shit out of me, and there was nobody there, man. I don't know if it was one of the voices in my head. I don't know if it was God himself telling me not to do it. But this motherfucker will go on the rest of his life not ever knowing that he's a fraction of a second away from getting a double aught buckshot through the back of his fucking face, through the back of his head, and a slug through the back of his head, you know what I mean? And I walked back, I got back to the car, and my cousin fucking grabbed the shit. He's like, "I'm gonna fucking do this." He's like, "I knew you were gonna be a pussy, you fucking," you know what I mean? I'm like, "What the fuck?" I was like, "No," I was like, "Fuck you, bro." Like he never did shit to you. If anybody has the right to blow this motherfucker away, it's me, dude. And I don't deserve not to only lose the rest of my life that I have left. I don't deserve to lose the rest of my eternity because of what this motherfucker did to me. So we get back home and whatnot, and a few weeks go by, and I needed some kind of something from this motherfucker. So I didn't know his phone number or any of that shit. I didn't have my own car and shit. So I got a hold of one of my aunts that I knew still hung out with him. And I asked her for his number, and she gave it to me. It took me like 2 days before I actually worked up the courage to actually call him, and I told my parents what I was going to do, and they were caring, concerned parents. They're like, "Are you sure this is what you want to do?" And do you want? I was like, "I don't care. You guys can stay here or not. I mean, I'm not going anywhere." I had a phone in the front room, and they had a phone in their bedroom. So, I was like, "I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going to call him from the front room." So I called him, and I was telling myself, I was just saying to myself, "Please don't answer, please don't answer, please don't answer, please don't answer." And that son of a bitch picked it up on the second ring, and he's like, "Hello," and I was like, "Oh, hey, somebody just asked if you could mute for a second because I guess like it's making an echo real bad for some reason."
Can I mute?
Yeah, just mute your mic for a minute, I guess.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, just for a minute.
Okay.
Is that better? So he's like, "Hello," and I was like, "Archie." He's like, "Yeah, who's this?" And I was like, "This is Aaron." And he goes, "Aaron? Aaron who?" I was like, "Don't play that fucking game with me. You know who this is, I was like, my dad. You're his cousin. You're his best friend, and you victimized me for." And he got real quiet. He got real quiet for a minute, and he's like, "Well, what do you want?" And I told him, I was like, "I want to know, just like any other predator, they're gonna deny. And it's like, I didn't do shit. I didn't never do nothing to you. You're making it up. Blah 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 blah." And I just kept at it and just kept at it and just kept at it with him. And after about 45 minutes or so, me just drilled on him and drilled. His answer, but his answer was simple. And he simply said, and I said, "I hope God has mercy on your soul." And I hung up the phone, and I just about collapsed. Now, I don't know what kind of sexual favors a 4.5, 5-year-old kid up to an 11.5, 12-year-old kid is asking a 35-year-old fucking man to do for them. But it worked for me. It worked for me. Because they took accountability for it. A lot of victims of childhood sexual abuse never even get accountability. So, this motherfucker is still alive. He lives less than 9 miles from me right now. I still have to see him at certain funerals. He's kind of my inspiration for wanting to start my Get to Know channel because, well, there's two, I call them parasites. I try to call them parasites to stay away from all the terminology that YouTube don't want me to use, but there was two parasites that were basically my inspiration of starting Get to Know. And that's my abuser and my wife's abuser. Now, back a few years ago, we get on the National Sex Offender Registry quite often, especially around our own neighborhood. And we had noticed that my abuser and my wife's abuser not only lived in the same town as each other, they also were both non-compliant on the National Sex Offender Registry. Now, I don't know what non-compliant to any of you mean, but non-compliant to me means they're doing something that they're not supposed to be doing, or they're not doing something that they're supposed to be doing. That's against the law.
Right.
That's against the law. So I called the city, I called their cities, I called the police department, I called the probation and parole department. I even called the sex crimes division department captain, whatever the fuck he is, And basically, they all laughed at me and said, "We don't have time. We don't have time to go do that." I said, "Well, then fucking, I'll go arrest him." "Well, you can't do that. He's a registered sex offender." Blah, 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 blah. So my wife's abuser stayed non-compliant up until the fucking day he died. My abuser was non-compliant for almost 18 straight months. And not a thing happened to him. So that really got me looking into a lot of things when it comes to this shit. And if you guys look into it in your guys' city, you guys will see, no matter where you're at, you really got to look into it. Look on your sex offender registry, find out where all them little red dots are at, and go see where they are. Because right here in my town, we have a middle school full of 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. Probably 1,800 of them. There's an apartment complex that sits right next to the boundary line of this school that's separated by a chain link fence. They're two long apartment buildings, one floor. I think there's 8 in each side. 16 of them. 12 out of 16 of those apartments were accompanied by registered sex offenders. Right next door, through a chain link fence, where these little kids are having lunch breaks and PE and playing sports, are pedophiles. That's against the law. That's against the law. They're not supposed to be within a certain distance of daycares, children's hospitals, any facility that accommodates the majority of children, schools, you name it, they're not supposed to be around it. And I got to noticing on just our state registry, out of the 1,700, 1,800 registered sex offenders, 400 of them were non-compliant and had been non-compliant for an extended period of time. So that got me curious on to what it's like around the United States. And out of the almost 1 million registered sex offenders in the United States, which we're rapidly approaching a million registered sex offenders in the country. Out of that million, about 250,000 of them were non-compliant, and out of that 250,000, about 180,000 of them had been non-compliant for more than a year. So, talking with my counselor, yeah, I guarantee you it's like that in your town. It's like that where you live. I guarantee it. So with my counselor, since I had confronted my abuser and he gave me an answer that I wanted, I was feeling pretty good. As soon as he said that to me and I hung up that phone, it felt like the weight of the world was lifted off my shoulders. I felt good for a long time. And then a few years ago, I just had this, it didn't matter what I did. It didn't matter who was around. I just felt worthless. I felt useless. I felt just like nothing. I felt like just a regular fucking just a nobody. Just a nobody. So my wife makes me get into counseling, and I thank her for it almost every single day because it's one of the greatest decisions I've ever made in my life. Well, it's one of the greatest decisions my wife's ever made me make in my life. So, I get this counselor, and she was amazing. And told her my whole story, my backstory about the sexual abuse, about being bullied, about suicide attempts, about hearing voices in my head, and anxiety issues and all this shit. And we kept on knocking one achievement after another off the list, of things I needed to do. And I just kept on knocking back that sexual abuse, further back on the list. And, well, sooner or later, eventually that list is going to come down to one last thing. And basically we came up to that one last thing. And she's like, so how are we going to deal with this? What do you want to do? And it's like, this country is disgusting when it comes to this shit. And like, as we are sitting here right now speaking, and everybody that's watching, every one of us, whether we know it or not, every one of us knows somebody who is being sexually violated right now. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
Somebody right now, some innocent child in this country is being sexually violated by a predator, and that predator is more than likely not even going to get caught. And if they do, there's like a 10% chance that they ever go to prison. And don't let the fucking shit fool you guys. Prison's not like it, like they portray it to be in the movies and shit. Like, pedophiles don't hit the main yard. They don't hit the yard. They don't hit the farm. They don't get put in general population. They get their own little section where they get to hang out with like-minded criminals and other parasites just like them. And then when they get out, they get an apartment. They get a home. They get catered to, and it's fucking disgusting. So my counselor's like, well, what do you say we do something? What do you say we get you on some kind of project to where you feel like you're helping people? So I started my Facebook group called Get to Know. It worked for a while, and that kind of wore out. And then I told my counselor about it, and she said, have you ever thought about doing social media? I laughed in her face. I was like, you're fucking crazy. Maybe you should be seeing a therapist and not me. Because what about me says to you that I should be on social media talking about anything? So my counselor hopped on me for a couple of months, and you know, as time went on, as these days went by, I was kind of, you know, talking myself into it more and more and more. And here I am. Here I am.
And I can honestly say I'm glad you're here.
I have to.
I am glad I got to know you. I'm glad I'm getting to know you and your wife. God has a purpose for each and every one of us. And every time you tried to take your life, he was there to stop it because he knew what he already had planned for you.
Yeah.
And that is what you're trying to get accomplished now.
Right.
And that is to change some of these laws that have been put back, God knows how long ago, 100 years ago. They need to be changed. They need to change with the time.
Yeah.
Nowadays, court system are not like what it used to be. Pretty much they get a slap on the wrist and they're out in a few years. If they even serve any time.
Exactly.
You know, I think you probably served more. I think you told the story that you had a friend that was going to serve 40 years for a little weed, and then you had a guy that had already been in front of the judge 5 times for SA and only got, what, 15 years at that?
No. Actually, it was,
something wrong with that picture.
Actually, it was actually my brother-in-law. My brother-in-law got busted for drug trafficking, and he got sentenced to 26 years fixed without possibility of parole in federal prison, followed up with a 5-year sentence in state prison for drug trafficking. And the motherfucker that was in court with him that got sentenced right before him for his 5th charge of lewdness of possession of child pornography, distribution of child pornography, and the production of child pornography, 5th time, he got 5 years.
5 years.
5 years. My brother-in-law's going to die. My brother-in-law's going to die in prison. My brother-in-law's going to die in prison for selling for bringing drugs across state lines, and this motherfucker destroyed who knows how many innocent children's lives, and he gets 5 years. It's bullshit. It's wrong.
Right.
It's wrong.
And I honestly think I don't give a rat's ass who you are. I don't care if you just touch a little girl's hair, a little boy's shoulder, whatever. You know what your intentions are. Nobody should get a pass. Nobody should make a plea deal. The plea deal should not even be nowhere near
Nope, they shouldn't either.
the courtroom when it comes to it.
Nope, they shouldn't be either. So,
You know, we
So-
look at the justice system for help, but why? For stuff like this, you're going to let a man that did that 5 times that you got caught of, God knows how many times he did it, and he's going to get out in 5 years? No.
he'll be out in 2. He'll be out in 2 now because this was 3 years ago that happened. So he'll be out in 2 years. And my brother-in-law.
And just think of what them parents are having to go through.
Yeah. So this was this was a little bit more draining for me than I thought. But I'm gonna tie this up real quick. I got a couple more things I want to say, and then I'm gonna get off of here.
Okay.
First of all, to anybody who watches this and hears this, if a child comes up to you, especially if they're in between the ages of 13 to the time they start, from the time they can, to being able to talk, if that child comes up to you and tells you that they're being sexually abused, believe that child. Believe that child.
That's
Period.
right.
Don't ever discredit a child for telling you that they've been sexually abused, because children that young don't just make that shit up in their head for no reason to come and tell you because they only do that because it's fucking happening. Okay? Number 1. Number 2, one of the reasons I did this is because there have been some things being said about me, and another person about me being overly obsessed with sexual abuse, not coming out and saying the exact words that I'm a pedophile, but insinuating that I'm a pedophile, and insinuating that I got all these domestic violence charges and I'm an abusive dad. To those people, I hope you listen to this story and trust and believe that shit ain't me, man. All of you guys who want to talk shit on me, you guys got me fucking wrong, dude. All of you. And I'm not going to say anybody's fucking names at all. They know who they are. They know who they are. Trust and believe that. Shame on you. Shame on you. Number 3, I don't know how many people are watching this or in chat, and I'm sorry I haven't been paying attention to anybody in the chat. I want to personally thank each and every one of you for coming and supporting here. Charlotte's Webbing. These are the ones that I just know off the top of my head. Southern Girl, It Matters, Mr. G, Batgirl, whoever else, Sugar Glider, my motherfucking Rock Gibraltar, my wife. Every single one of you are what gives me the strength to keep doing this, because this is not easy for me whatsoever in any way, shape, or form. Number 4, if you are a man and you have been sexually violated at any point in time in your life and you're struggling with that shit, come check it out. Come hit me up on my Get to Know channel, man. I'll support you. You need to speak up about your abuse. It's only going to make shit worse if we don't. If you're a woman and you've been sexually abused at any point in time in your life, speak up about it. It only makes it worse if we don't. Remember, everybody, keep your kids close, because the chances are that your child is going to get violated by somebody they don't know is less than 10%. 91% of all sexual abuse cases, especially when it involves children, come from somebody they know personally. A dad, an uncle, a mom, an aunt, a cousin, a niece, a nephew, a best friend, a cousin. Those are the ones you got to watch out for. I know we can't keep our children.
Right.
I know we can't keep our eyes on our children 24/7. But has a child that
Gotta do a
has.
better job of it.
What's that?
I said we gotta be better parents.
Yes.
We gotta start paying attention to what our kids are doing, where they're going.
Yeah. Now, if you're a parent and you pay attention to your kids, half decent, babe. I got 11 watching and 11 thumbs up. If you're a parent and you halfway pay attention to your kids and their attitudes, they go from a happy-go-lucky child to an out of control, yelling, screaming, arguing, fighting, snot-nosed child. Something's happening with that kid. Something's happening with that kid. Start if you're a new parent. Talk to your kids from a very young age about this shit. My wife and I, both victims of childhood sexual abuse, we started talking to our children and teaching them what was okay and what was not okay touching at a very young age. From the time we thought they could comprehend the words that were coming out of our mouths, we started talking to our children about it.
That's right.
To this day, my son will be 17 this summer. My daughter will be 15 this fall. And to this day, and I'll look over at one of them and I'll be like, being sexually abused, and just take them off guard. Tell you if they have been or if they are being. Children are our future, and we allow our children. We allow this to happen to our children. Not like just allow it to happen, but you know what I mean. If we don't do something about it, we won't have a future. All of our children will be damaged. All of our kids, it's horrible. And just because statistics say a certain number, that's not what the number is. If you do your research on how they keep tracking numbers and all that shit, you will learn that they don't keep any statistics for children under the age of 12 at all. So my abuse that I got wouldn't have counted if it wouldn't have counted. They wouldn't have put it in the numbers. So any numbers you read, quadruple them. We're rapidly approaching 1 million people. We're rapidly approaching 1 million people on the sex offender registry. Quadruple that. That's more realistic. That's more realistic. Last of all, one child is one too many. We got to do something about it, you guys. Let's stand together as one united front and make the future a better place, not for us, but for the innocence of our children. Whether you have kids or not, this is important. No child deserves to go through what I've been through, what my wife's been through, what many of these other people in the community, in the Get to Know community, have had to go through and experience. No child deserves that shit. It's time we start executing these motherfuckers and start taking these parasites out and making a stand before it's too late, before we're all fucked. Before it's too late. We owe it to our children. We owe it to our children. Even if you don't have them, you owe it to children. Please come join the Get to Know community and let's do something about this. I'm getting a migraine. I gotta go, you guys. Thank you. I love all you guys. I really appreciate you guys being here and joining.
So thank you, Ann, for coming. Appreciate it. I'll chat with you here later.
Okay.
Later.
Okay.
All right, you go. Have a good night.
You too, man.
Tell the missus we all said hello, and we love you.
Will do. Love you guys too, man. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. Keep your kids safe. If you're not a member of the Get to Know community, join up. Let's see what we can do together, you guys. Much love and respect. Make sure you tell your friends about me. Later.